Hey everyone, this is Hannibal with the Kentucky Medical Team. I'm going to make this video short and sweet because my battery's dying in my camera, and if I don't do this quick, I'm not going to be able to get it in. And I'm sure some of you wish that I would make all of my videos short and sweet, but we're going to talk specifically today about packing wounds, why you pack, how you pack. Okay, so the reason you would pack a wound is, let's say you have a deep penetrating wound like a bullet wound, and you've got a wound channel that goes down, and then you've hit an artery, and what you've got is bleeding, but the bleeding is down deep. And what you want to do is get pressure deep, get pressure down on that artery where you can cut off that blood flow. Now, typically what they say, you could pack a wound anywhere, but typically where they suggest packing wound is a junctional wound, which would be in the underarm areas or in the groin area. Reason why, if you've got a wound further down the arm, you could put a tourniquet around and a pressure dressing to try to stop that bleeding. You don't necessarily have to pack it, but they could be packed in some instances. But if you're up in like the armpit area, you really can't effectively get a tourniquet up there. So this is a wound that would have to be packed. So I've got a simulated wound here. I think will work pretty good. And be aware, when you have a wound like that, it may not go in perpendicular. It might be at an angle. So you have to find that channel. And when you're packing that wound, you have to follow that channel. Now, the ideal thing to use for packing a wound is hemostatic gauze, which is gauze that's been impregnated with an agent that promotes blood clotting. And if you don't have that, and if you have one of our Amcon medical kits that we provided, you have Kerlix gauze in there, and this can also be very effective. The clotting factor helps, but understand the main purpose of packing the wound is to get pressure down there where you need it. So it's more important, the mechanical action of packing, than the actual gauze that you're using. So let's move a little closer so you can see a little bit better. There. So one thing I want to mention is a lot of people I've heard talk about using tampons and putting a tampon in the wound. That really doesn't work. It sounds a great idea, but it really doesn't work. First off, tampons are not as absorbent as you think. They really won't absorb that much blood. But also, understand what I said. The whole reason of packing is we want to get down to the bottom of that wound channel and push and put pressure against that artery. A tampon won't do that. A tampon will simply go in and then expand outward, and you won't be applying pressure to that artery. So that's really not an effective way to deal with that wound. The best way is to pack it. And if you're going to use our IFAC, you're going to use our gauze. So you want to open it. And the best way to do this, first off, if you come across a wound like this, first thing you want to do is apply pressure to it. If they're on the ground, if you got nothing else, take your knee and put your knee right on that spot and keep pressure on it while you're getting your stuff ready. If they're conscious, you can ask them to use their arm and apply pressure there. You might even want to take your ABD dressing, put it over it, and have them holding pressure there while you're getting this stuff ready. Now, the Kerlix, the idea is to pack that wound, to get pressure down in there and keep pressure down in there. You don't want to put your finger down in there and then pull it out. Put your finger in there and pull it out. And understand, you're going to have to get your finger in there. You can't pack it from the outside like this and just sit there and push on it from the outside and try to pack in there. That won't work. It won't get pressure down there. What it'll do is go in there about an inch or two wide up, and then you're just going to be packing the top and leave that whole area underneath there open. Ideally, you don't want to unroll it like this either, because that makes it awkward. The best way to do this is to get it from the center and pull it out from the center. And once you do that, you can take your finger and wrap a little bit of that gauze around your finger like that. The reason why, if you try pushing just like this, as you're pushing it down in the wound, that wound channel is going to create friction, and what you're probably going to do is end up doing this number and just pushing your finger right off the end of it. So if you give it a little twist around your finger, then you can really get it down in there. I saw a video one time where somebody recommended tying a knot and then pushing the knot down in there. If you wanted to try that, that's fine. I would just do the finger twist myself. But just twist a little bit around your finger, and you can hold the gauze in your other hand, and you push your finger down in there. You got a little too much around there. There we go. And you push your finger down in there as far as you can. Then you pull your finger back out, and you're feeding yourself with this hand. So I'm feeding some more gauze over here over top. And as soon as that finger comes back out, I'm pushing it right back in there again. And then I'm feeding myself another piece, and I'm right back in again. And the whole idea is to try to maintain that pressure down in there as much as you can, and just keep feeding yourself. And my wound is falling apart here because I kind of had it cobbled together. But you get the idea. And you pack and pack and pack. And you pack because you're trying to put pressure against that artery. Remember how tight a tourniquet has to be. You're trying to create an internal tourniquet there, so it's got to be tight. So you want to push it down as firmly as you can. And when you can't pack any more in, and you absolutely have it full, then take the rest of your gauze, put it over top of it, and you hold pressure on there for, if I was using hemostatic gauze, they have times on them. I think they say 3 minutes to 5 minutes. For gauze like this, I would hold a good 10-minute pressure on there. Just keep good, firm pressure down there. And, you know, you've built that column up of gauze where it's packed in there. So imagine it's like a nail, and you're pushing pressure on there, and you're pushing pressure right down that column, right down against that artery. So you want to keep good, firm pressure against there. At least 10 minutes. Try to block that up and get that clot to form. Then, after that, you can put a compression dressing, a pressure dressing over top of it. You could use an Israeli bandage. You could use Coban out of our pack with the ABD pad. It doesn't really matter at that point. The packing is what's done the work. You've got done there. You compress that wound. What if you don't have our IFAC? What if you don't have anything else and you have to improvise? Well, then you have to improvise. If you have to improvise and pack something in there, use clothing. Take the victim's t-shirt or whatever they're wearing and cut strips of that and use that to pack. Ideally, one long strip, but if you have to use multiple shorter strips, then you do what you have to do, and you can pack that in there. But that's about it. There's not a lot to it. Just pack, pack, pack. Maintain that pressure as much as possible. What you don't want to do is pack and then take your hand out, pull some more, pack again. Because every time you do that, you're letting any clotting that's happened becomes ineffective and blows it right out. So if you can keep feeding it to yourself and pack and pack and pack and trying to keep that finger in there as much as possible, understand they're probably not going to like that. You have a bullet wound and somebody's sticking their finger in there. It's going to be painful. They may not like that. You may have to have somebody to help hold them down to reassure them they're going to be okay, but do what you got to do. Okay, I said this was going to be a short one. It's going to be a short one. Thank you all very much. I appreciate you. This is Hannibal out.